That's right. Very obvious statement on there saying it's my designs. It's because they are. Suck it up, bitch. I don't see no designs. Yeah, it's because you'd have to listen, you fuck up. That should probably take care of the vast majority of people from sticking around. You probably clicked away. Wonder if you're still here. If you're still here, that's good. That's good. You're probably not one of those dumbasses. You got rage baited too hard, you left. Oh my gosh. Look at you, fucks. Anyways. Alright, so let's say that we made this vacuum thing. Alright. I'm going to pump in electricity using microwaves. Then I shall put it through the cable, which has the conduit, and then the microwaves, and then the gas, and then a charge difference with piezoelectrics of the cable, which then makes a whole bunch of extra electricity. By God, that's different than what you do, isn't it? My designs. Now, the gas is a mixture, of course, because that gives you the best, and of course it helps with the heat exchange for the piezoelectric change. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Stirling engine pressure difference, diaphragmic change from the vacuum, skin, an internal donutty toroidal figure thing that has the, wider mouth, central, smaller, and then back to a slightly wider over there, elongated, teardroppy kind of structure. Anyways, it goes, the whole brr, and it goes, oh, mechanical stress, I have now gained this thing called electricity. Look at me, I'm a Stirling engine, because pressure changes. If I put a gas in the tube with a cable, it helps it from oxidizing, but also manages to help increase charge differentials. And if you don't know anything about charge differentials, that's an electron flow battery. Now, if I happen to do this thing where I go burr to whir, burr, burr, to dur, 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 to burr with some of these currents and flows and vibrational right? It effectively makes it act very much like an electrical field because of the charge differences. Laser. Mechanical battery is heat. Oh my god, the heat! No, it's actually stored potential energy in a field difference. An electron flow, a redox flow of sorts, that happens to increase the amount of electrons I get. And the superpositional capacity during the vibrational, that's right, sine waves that I'm using. Yeah! You could have done this many, many times ago, because this was figured out back in the 70s. Holy shit, look at that fucking textbook just saying you can do that. Too bad. I never looked at the textbook. I just know it exists because I talked to the guy in my head. But, whatever, you won't believe that. So instead I'll go, the principles of the quantum physics says that it will work. My logical intuition says that in all actuality, all fundamental forces, there should be a way to do this. Because they're all just constructive interferences for a quantum field and thermodynamic and fluid theories. There we go! Good old dimensions, douchefuck. Deal with it. Suck it up. Don't care. I'm just smarter than you. I never once read your little books, you little fuck-ups. I'm just that good. I just logically intuited from all of the things that you kind of roughly told me about it. And I was like, a frequency by another wave function is just as good for something else, a wave function of another sort, right? Alpha Phoenix, hey, what's up? I love that. He said that at the end. I was like, oh, yeah, no, I get that. Totally. That's exactly what that is. Just because we can't sense it currently right now for that given type of wave function that could be totally around us doesn't mean that it's not there, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't work for the other people that can and or things. You know what I mean? Anyways, then we were like, gravitational waves do exist. Suck it. No, they must not. What? Hey. Obviously, I'm recording right after that fucking thing. Clearly. Anyways, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more because it's effectively that. It's a wave function that's collapsing that happens to increase its given amount through thermodynamic and the vacuum pressure. It has an extra space to go into, and it happens to have a potential, and as it goes through its potential, it has a superpositional wave function collapse that happens to increase the amount of electrons you get. Suck my dick and balls. Anyways, it's a part of my Lemke flow current. It's already on my YouTube channel. It's part of my Lemke fucking principle and law that I keep fucking saying I have. Suck my balls. It's a force! It's a Lorentz force! It's a Lorentz force. That's what's doing it, the Lorentzings. Me. I don't think so there, buddy boy. You're gonna use the Z-pinch current maneuver. It's gonna cost us nothing and get us so much. Gravitational slingshot maneuvers. Yay! Fucking, there's pressure and energy in the universe all around us, man. You just didn't know how to use it properly. Look at you fuck-ups. You could have thought of that, unlike me. I thought it was in the 70s. Yeah, no, mine's slightly different. Because I'm using it in electromagnetic, electrostatic, and charge different, and all those other different types of ways. That effectively means that it's always tunneling and preserving perfectly its electricity like a superconductor, but it happens to use this thing called resistance to make it act like that. Transfers information incredibly quickly through any and all material because, of course, it uses a vacuum tunnel effect, which would be new. Mundo, bingaroonies, suck it. That's right. Anyways, let me just move on to, all right, so, these are hollow, so what the fuck it is, that is. Let's move on. Let's go on to the, what is it? So it's a vacuum, huh? Yeah, no, so it goes boom, 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 boom. It goes whooshy, whooshy, the zoomity wooms and the counter rotationals as they slip in between each of the blades that are there. That's right. They slip. The blades, they slip. You see, I was like, this is tubercular, apparently, and it's just bumps on them, but whatever. It's got these wave guys. They're just feathers. What are you fucking... What the fuck? Anyways, they insert themselves in between those gaps. There's some little tiny gaps increasing the amount of vacuum differences. They always seem to maintain them in the right area to keep providing torque with a vacuum effect. They skip off because, of course, gas, momentum are still there for this gas. You didn't think it just lost it somehow. You fuck up. You did, didn't you? Oh my God, it provided extra energy. Torque from nowhere? What are you talking about? There's a vacuum. That's energy. Energy from a vacuum. What the fuck? Look at you, dumbass retards, thinking it can't be done. Anyways, you position the right way, they counter-rotate in between each other. It's an axle within an axle. That's a type of generator, and then the hips and the wing blades, of course, are their own type of generator because, of course, there are coils and magnets there. As they pass by, they produce electricity. Now it's more efficient. It's way more. But I only need them to be so strong. See what I mean? But it's like, no, they'll pretty much consistently spin, because if I get them all the way up to the slipstream, and I happen to do the for the piezoelectrics, with a little bit of, what is that? What is that, a heat? Let me, oh yeah, it's vibrating. Huh. Is that light? It's a solar panel? No, come down, come back here. No, come on. Got some 3M tape over here. Got some, what is that, fucking a vacuum, and then this is a gas. I got some, like, areas of hollow and this and that. Yeah, some, what is this, fiber optic? That could probably survive some, what is that, fucking carbon fiber? Huh. Anyways, behold, what have I done? This thing called a Lorentz lensing mirror system. He's still around, though, that guy. Anyways, it produces this thing called a constructive and destructive to constructive, and constructive to destructive wave interference pathway in reflectivity for any light coming towards it to make it so it's the light that produces the greatest amount of electrical gain. Then there's a vacuum for the gap junction, and then I have this thing called, what is this, a fucking increased amount of electron? It's an ionic or a non-ionic. It could be alkaline or acidic, depending on how you want to do it. Gas that's happening to go through. It's a refrigerant. It's a refrigerant. It's a refrigerant. Brr, 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 brr. As pressure differences make electricity with the static charge differences. Are you keeping up yet? Do I have to repeat myself? Have you lost over there the amount of understanding? You are probably slow and decrepit and old. Fuck up, retards. It's not the aging, it's the fact they never kept up with the information. You know what I mean? They didn't continue doing the work, as the Healthy Gamer GG talks about for a large amount of the psychiatrists out there. Look at them. I'm only in this particular field of study. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, well, I don't know anything about any of it, apparently, because I don't have your fucking degrees. Meanwhile, a paradigm-shifting thing is being created. What do you know? Shockingly, if you kept up to date and kept learning more, you might actually know how to do this. Look at you. Using excuses. Anyways, so, because it's both a pump, because it's both a generator, because they have static charge and momentary electromagnetic fields that are pulsing, by the way, creating their own microwave generation. During the generation of electricity, during the electron flow, during all that, I produce more electrons than you think. In fact, I'm apparently over 100% efficient. Which it's not really, to be fair. It's just you're not taking into account enough, but okay. There's still air moving. There's all this. There's a magnetosphere. There's charged particles in the atmosphere. There's heat from the sun. You know what I mean? Look at all this stuff that you're not accounting for, you freaking weirdos. You didn't go into the quantum effects. My quantum field effects are so much greater than yours. Look at me. I can't even hold all these quantum field effects. They're just dropping around and teleporting around. Anyway. Just gonna move on. Because it's like, all right. So it's like, that's my vacuum windmill. Look at me, I strung them together with what is this, the Bill Gates thing with the big long line thingy-me-jigs. Hey, man, I wonder if I put a fucking stupid, what is this, a fucking magnet and some coils and with that charge fit and then some heat because electric. Fucking, can you stop? Behold, more electricity. I'm looking at all my electrons. I can't even hold them. I'm producing so many. Look at all the heat that's just disappearing. I don't even need to worry. It's all the way up there in the fucking high atmosphere. Good stuff. Let me see this over there. Is that a fucking another type of fucking solar panel on these things? Oh, absolutely. You know how I do. I got so many over here. Look at me. Going down to these tiny little fucking windmills all the way down there. Holy shit, that thing's massive. Look at that fucker. He's standing tall and proud. Why is it white? Solar panels and radiator hollow surfaces. Look at all the heat I generate. That turns into electricity. This is the thing that I had problems with the whole geothermal. I was like, wait, I don't need to go that fucking deep. What are you, fucking ridiculously stupid to me? Yes, you are. You're a joke. No, it'll convert one heat to gas from another. Well, I could use the same, but I suppose I don't have to. What if I, during that exchange, with Jules Thompson and a whole fucking amount of vibrationals and some piezoelectrics and some thermoelectric and thermophotovoltaic generating material, that during the exchange it's still cold enough on one side, and I make a bunch of electricity during that. I pour it in here, it's cold over there, burn it there, and I move it, and it's acoustic resonancing, and it makes it more efficient at being able to transfer the amount of electricity, and then I put in a little bit of electricity, and with the acoustic resonancing of the electricity, but also the physical, mechanical part, I then create, what is this called again? Your more electron creation. Bingo! Suck it! That's right, you got it, more electricity! Turns out during that heat exchange, I make more electrons than you probably could with your little piece of shit design. Look at you, naysayer, non-solution making bastards. Let me just go fucking some nice buoyancy we're having today. That's a big, massive diaphragm when you have that. Oh, there's just some air running over there. Some movement and tubulars and some, what is this, a sponge of the metal variety? But it's not really, if you look at that. It's a charge field, like I was talking about. And then it goes all the way up to the slipstream with this heat exchangey wangies. I can still use the microwaves the same way. Constructively, in no way, but technically speaking, I am. I'm just simply filtering out IR. Making the microwaves cleaner. Like water getting distilled a little bit more. In no way, but then I'm burning the fuck out of all the scale with the oxygenations. During that, I'm going to get even more electricity as I constructively interfere it into the correct wavelength for my birdie whir solar panels. Still, it has to go somewhere, but you get the picture. Most of it's captured, isn't it? Let me just take a look at this some more, as I don't really need it to be that hot, and I certainly don't need it to go down that far, and I certainly don't need it to be anything other than enough vibrational. Correct. You're getting it. As a result, I now have an entire platform. It's a lot more than you think, because the inner tube is what actually makes the water come down, and then the outer tube is the hot. Or you can switch it, which is what I actually do. I switch it to the outer tube is the going to cool things, and the inner tube is after it goes down far enough, and we have the nice little relief valves, and the Tesla valving there, and some undulational piezoelectric thermal photovoltaic, all that stuff. Turbines, but they're not really turbines. You see what I mean? They're just diaphragmic changes of a Jules Thomson variety, as they can still spin within inside their respective tubes during the pressure changes with the right stators and so on. It gives me a turbine, Jules Thomson style heat exchanger. It still happens to have medium volt. Oh, I'm sorry. Medium pressure and heat. Whatever gas you choose. I shall now exchange it to this one over here in a concentrated fashion and make so much more electron juice. Is what you probably want me to do. I'll do it for you if you want me to. I know I'm exchanging it over there. It's in a heat exchanger, but it's also a generator heat exchanger, because, like, why can't I make a waste heat generator that makes more generation of the generations that I want to make it generate? Why not? Meanwhile, I got my new waste heat generator for my fucking cars. What is that, static? You got some magnets over there, you little bitch? What is that, fucking Earth? You got some magnetospheres? Got some static charge, bitch? Where you running? I'm gonna take that. Over 100% efficient. No, it only seems that way. Anyways, here's this over here. It's a statically fixed solenoid coil railgun system inside of the pistons. I mean, isn't that basically the equivalent, right? And it's like, yeah, no, but like, then why do you got gears for every single one of your fucking? You do. Oh yes, no. Well, as they go downward and they go upward, it's like a differential. You see, it spins like the counter rotates, and it goes to this, which is whether your singular, fucking flywheel 17 and all the rest of it is, as you can dynamically change it as you want by adding any gearing, and that's your version, effectively, with the bottomers I happen to use, of variable valve duration, variable valve timing, and variable valve amounts of opening because of, that's right, I only needed to go down this far tonight. That's right, baby. This far. Look at my two strokies. Yeah, no, but I can always make it spin. This thing called a fucking ring valve. I use them a lot in a lot of my things because, like, we have bearing journals and it's effectively the same thing. It just spins, whole thing. Anyways, you can do a lot of that, but it's like, no, what do I know it has something to do with your fucking stupid, what is this? Behold, the tall and proud cylinder is stupid. It's a radiator. You remember that, right? I still have to go in there. Yes, no, but there's a tube over there. There's the high, it's fine. It's not that bad. Look at my solenoid. Look at me, I'm just going up with vacuums and some pressure differentials over here. There's a pressure there, there's a vacuum over here. There's a, and then it moves the vacuum and it goes up and down, up and down. It's Stirling, say Stirling. Look at my metal sponge called the fucking goddamn exoskeleton or hub or whatever that's called at that point. Some stem tubey thing. It's a tube. That's all I care about. Meanwhile, behold, so many of my fans, just so many of them. There's ones that are vertical, there's ones that are horizontal, there's one strung in between. Look at my solar panels over here, just collecting all the correct exact waves. There's some losses, of course, with heat, but that's fine because I collected that heat and then turned it into more electricity. Then I was all like, that's a charge difference, that I made more electrons with that electrons. By doing the equivalent of, like, I'm an exothermic electron generator. I know, right? Like, you think about it, right? It's like, no, I shall now set you up for the potential to exothermically react. Yeah, but I can't really, I'm just the, now there's multiples. You expanded. How'd you grow more? Your volts are not what this is about. It's actually more electrons. Current. That's correct. I got current. Amps. That's what that is. Anyways. I'll just make it more voltivolts from multiple acoustic resonant resonance, and then zoomity zooms as it goes and hoppity hops down using the Lemke flow current or the flow Lemke current, depending on how it is you want to call that. Granted, you can still use your AC DC, but okay, it's kind of garbage. I'm still also transferring a lot of microwave, baby. Look at this microwave energy being generated down below. Look at me just collecting all of that. I didn't say this until the end, so that way you could feel inferior with your inability to see all of the variables that I do. Look at all these IR constructive interferences. Oh, I'm sorry. They're destructive to constructive. Back to microwaves, man. Filter them out, bruh. How? Constructive interferences of microwaves with destructive interferences in the right way, with the right holes and the right patterning over the right distances, manages to make, what is this, a high luminosity, highly corrected laser of microwaves? No fucking way. That's a phaser laser Lemke principle system because somebody probably watched that video at this point. Oh yeah. High five, snap, and all that. Anyways, look at my fucking fans. Look at them. They're exchanging heats over here. The fucking freaking windmill blades. Yeah, that's what you probably sounded like, I imagine. It's like generating more electrons, right? And then it's like, no, but more of the electricity and the electrons, but then also that heat, there's a vacuum there, right? A small exposure of extra fucking really good light waves that really excite. Point the right light waves in the right area, and then you constructively interfere as they kind of interfere the right way to make a much higher amount of wavelength. But if I do it with a little bit of reflectivity and pulsing, guess what happens? The exchange happens to create enough polarization, superposition, interference, and excitation of the electrons inside of them. Not only do the blades exchange the heat, but so does the light directly into the heat of the atmosphere. I wonder if I can use this to my advantage. More electricity! Anyways, for enough distance, it's a small little... It's a lot. Every single step of the way. It's like, eventually we just not keep adding, right? Yeah. That's the problem. It's like, where is it? They're just going into more electrons for us. Right? Yeah, but they're becoming more and more lamineristic. The heat and pressure as it continues down, multiple different types of windmills, all positioned the correct way, at the correct distances, and the correct heights, and the correct gappings, and more, with the correct shrouds that are over all of them. Because yes, I do shrouds. There you go. Then, as it continues down, changing some more, expanding a little bit, increasing more and more and more and more of the wind's consistency as it has to exchange. A Venturi-Bernoulli's principle effect. It's getting sucked in, it's already sped up, there's a vacuum energy, and then there's a heat exchange. It constantly is windy now. With a never-ending updraft. I wonder, because there's definitely going to be some humidity in the air, and there's some pressure differential exchanges, and oh my gosh, look at all this extra water. I'm just concentrating from larger areas into the smaller area that goes into an updraft that constantly seems to have greater amounts of rainfall downwind. Now I position multiples of these in all these different places that are really good for this, and what do I get? More rainfall, sir. That is correct. You are good to go. That is right. I get so much rainfall for this bad boy. Look at him. Holds so much water with this. Oh, yeah. Anyways, look at me. I am the boon of all the farmers. They must love me. I hate your renewables. Okay. They got you with the identity politics again, you bastards. You have consistent rainfall. You have no more like tornadoes and hurricanes, or at least as severe. Jesus. Fuck you bastards. Look at all the albedo factors I create with this thing. I control the weather. Geoengineering is my bitch. Fucking original guy here. I created it. I created it all the way back in Chandler, Arizona. When I was talking out loud to myself, a bunch of hackers were hacking me. If you got to this far in this video, maybe you might examine the possibility here that could be possible because of how intelligent and charming I am. Maybe I just got seen as a little special and they wanted to stick around, huh? Come on, man, I don't... Okay, fine, it's true, whatever, fucking damn it. That's probably what you're doing. There you go. Now behold the whole amounts of ways on my YouTube channel already there in the videos about how that went down. All right, bye. Yeah, exploring reality YouTube and more, and the hacking with satellites and fucking more. Anyways, then your phones is pretty easy. Programming in there. Anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit further on this because I'm not actually fully done. There is a specific type of multi-coding, multi-lines, dots, slants, all that overhangs for the reflectivity of this and the exchanging of heat by increase in surface area and the type of light light wave links elicited and absorbed. Which I didn't specify because you didn't get to this part. Not even 30 minutes in. You guys have no attention span. To listen to someone that makes you feel inferior and shit about yourself like you should probably if you didn't like what I was saying. Fuck ups. Anyways, it's gonna move on, of course, to well, it also helps with during that interference, it exchanges back into the fluids, of course, but also the solar panels and piezoelectrics that are definitely there too. Because I can dope multiple areas instead of one big cell. I don't need to. I can have many of them. As they move around, they can be within the shell itself, and I don't need to worry about it getting less efficient. Keeps it cool, it keeps it creating the electrons, and it even happens to still resonate frequency and increase as the heat is there as a mechanical type of battery, but it's not really heat because it's technically both heat and a field and charge difference with both our magnetosphere, light, and our atmosphere. Guess what happens? More electrons. Correct! I'm technically speaking, because I've been working on it, my first one was in the gigawatts for basic bitch shit. This is regular, just fucking cable, steel, and then it's insulated in the copper in the center. Something like that, right? I was like, go fuck yourself. It's not enough. I wanted more, see? I wanted more. There's so much more meat on that fucking bone, I want it all. So that's what I did. I kept continuously researching and refining. That's what you gotta do. So, using a little bit of nitric oxides, explosive decompressions, and more, because guess what? Charge field differences and all that happens to help create those, especially with microwaves around. You know what I mean? They like to stick more things and, exchange them, and that's, during the electron flow, and then that's right, separating them. I create more ozone too, if I want to, depending on how I do that charge difference and the frequencies I'm using, and the volts and so on. As explosive decompression happens to increase the amount of potential of my piezoelectrics, what do I get? More electrons, sir! That is correct! You've got it! And because I'm doing it through multiple altitudes and multiple different areas, and I'm resonating and increasing the frequency, like an acoustic resonance frequency, never heard of it, but maybe you have. It now goes up to the very, very tippity top of our atmospheres and goes backety down. Forward towards, draws more air, backwards expandifies, and breaks apart things sometimes. I can direct, that's right, this thing called, what is this? My albedo factor around. Isn't that nice? But I'm not really fully, truthfully doing it just for that, because then I can collect more water and more wind and then more static electricity as I can separate and create more static charge differences. Also have it explode in an explosive decompressive manner safely, consistently, like a pulse jet thrumming hum crackle of a rocket engine, jet engine. Look at me with my ozones and my, oh my god, it's just regular oxygen and N2s. I got rid of a large amount of CO2s. I'm capturing them. I'm wicking them down with my cables. Look at my carbonic acids that I'm generating. That's actually good because, well, if I use the right material in these cables, that'll produce even greater amounts of electron flux exchange, redox, right? They'll want to move around. And it'll survive the carbonic acid, and I can always add in this thing called a, what is that? Charge and all that I'm gonna need anyways. And then it turns back into, what is this? Water nano and graphite combo powders that fall down to the ground or get seeded up into the clouds, as I would like sometimes, to then later fall back down, making better rain and better wind and better sunshine and better water and better. More electrons for my electrons, please. They need friends. You don't get it, do you? That's a superpositional joke. Yeah. Anyways, so I think I've got it all figured out, you damn dummy dums. Maybe you were not as good as I was, thinking by myself and writing nothing down and simply just watching stuff on YouTube and literally never doing any kind of CAD work or ever looking anything up in any kind of way on Google or in any textbook, never going to school, and then proceeding to just be better than you by working really hard with my mind, by thinking. I guess you can't do that. I guess you're stupid over there. Again, it's just to fuck with certain people that have been constantly naysaying me. I fucking hate you. You suck. You're not smart. Shut up. It can be done. Everybody knows what I'm going through. No, if you don't, then like, holy shit, you're lucky to deal with fuck ups like this because you didn't get gate kept. I don't think any of that works or exists, even if the principle is sound. Even if that's something we already do, even if this is actually something we use already, even if all the puzzle pieces out. I'm just over here, gulp, 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 gulp. Hey there, what's up, pretty lady? Oh, what do you know? Guess it didn't work for them. Look at me, being genius-like over here. Get on my level. Anyways, that's an ADHD thing. We just feel really good about ourselves sometimes. Look at me! I thought of something really good and I knew it! Suck it! Anyways. But it's like, actually, I'm not actually fully done. So actually, you haven't considered the fall. Let me just get to this real fast. I don't have salts. Technically, though, I do. It's in the form of the carbonic acid, but not really. Okay, so like the cables have to be changed to something that you normally wouldn't think would be a good idea, which is a blend of quartz, silicon dioxide, fibers, right? Impregnated with metals that are conductive, and some basic bit sodium ion combined with a, we'll have them chemically separate consistently. That's the trick of the cable that produces more electrons. Okay. With a cathode, which is shocker pretty close by. But I did think about that. It helped me produce the fields too. With the laser lights I've got to have. That's right, I absorb a little bit of light and then it reflects the vast majority of the microwaves in a laser light fashion. As they don't reflect anymore, they actually absorb light instead of bouncing. That acts like a different type of constructive but mostly destructive interference boundary layer effect, increasing the amount of energy I get from that and reducing the amount of loss. They're cheap as fuck to make too, which is even better. Because they're like effectively a semiconductor, except not really, you know. But whatever. Yeah. Same thing for the, uh, you know, what do they call it? The windmills or whatever, the floaty things. Yeah, the vacuum balloon, whatever ship things. They're essentially the same thing, but not quite. You know what I mean? A bit different because you need a tube, and then the tube, and you need the middle tube, and then that's the real structure, and then you have the zip, is the vibrations on the outside versus the inside, which needs to be kept at a pretty consistent amount of space for gapping tolerances. Don't want much slop there. Anyways, when you happen to have a capacitor, which is what charges are usually for us, and the magnetic field differences, and it has to get around the gap, and then, suddenly it allows for it to go through. It's effectively a bunch of voltage increases because the large amount as it moves, increases of coil densities as it'll go from outwards towards inwards. Starts at this coil to more coil to more coil to more coil to more coil, and it has to match the resonant frequencies towards back in towards the center. You know, it's a bit of a thing, but it works really rather well. But let's see here. You have to remember that most people are probably not very good at imagining that. So suck it up, imagine it harder, do better, stop being you, work on it. You know, progress over time, baby. Get it done. And then there's for me, the best one, which is the skin. Of course, you need the skin, and because it needs to be not so much light. It's more about size. Okay, so like volume of a vacuum, which is great, like helium or hydrogen, it's the volume, and you can rigid structure it pretty hard, right? But it's like when you want it to expand and contract to consistently maintain that size, and then you need it to vibrate a little bit, which is the rubbery sort of piezoelectric impregnated carbon fiber. It's just strands of carbon fiber and some other thing. Anyways, point is, it needs to be insulated, and it needs to have like the impregnation of certain conductive material. You know what I mean? And so it's got to have like the fiberglass material inside of it, and then it needs to have rubber, which happens to help with the whole thing. Remember, it's kind of the same thing. Then the tube in the inside has to be pretty darn rigid. Well, carbon fiber and a really good carbon fiber, and then a good structure of bones that are light as fuck here, called the ship structure, of course. It is not a blimp where it's just pressure. It has to have a bone structure. You know that, right? Yeah, a tube is pretty strong for that, especially when you happen to do a flowery, not Lee, pyramid diamond-like structure that's inside of it, which is fibers, right? But then they're fibers with and then they intersect in between, right? And they slide in, and you need to be able to run them. So it's like, well, uh, this is this is something really interesting here. There's this shit called wires that can do that. Fiberglass and conductive, like, I don't know, copper or something. Strong enough, from what I understand. Probably put some knots in there, or just like undulate how big it is, every so often, so it'll slide through, and then just sort of like the popcorn on a string stays there a little. Compresses it as one side's compressed on the inner side, meaning the outer diameter, to the inside diameter on the other opposite end. If you do that multiple times throughout all of it, but you get very strong structure, sir. That is correct. That happens to undulate slightly with piezoelectrics nearby, huh? Oh, yeah, definitely. This guy's got it. But we're not fully done and finished yet, are we? They have to be filled with a little bit of something, huh? That way they don't collapse onto themselves. They can't be hollow. They can't be too thick. It's got to be a light substance. What is this, gas? Is this pressurized gas? That helps with the undulations and movement and stuff? On the inside versus the outside and inner diameters? Huh. I modeled after a fucking vagina. Nobody knows this, but I did do that. I modeled a lot of them after that. They're an undulational tube. I'm just saying. They're good for a lot of things, not just making me feel good. Ew! Oh, shut up. Shut up. That's weird. Are you kidding me? That's weird. You're gonna look at me like I'm weird for saying I like vaginas and I like that they make me feel good? You weirdo. Look at you. You must like baseballs or something. You're so weird. Ew, disgusting. Baseballs? Baseballs? Weird. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So, if I happen to make a corrected net with the pressure of the gas and the, connection side and diagonal wise, and it moves, but then I have that as a tension spring. And I have a vacuum on the outside of that happens to help with certain parts it's connected to, which really just means the ends in the middle and a couple of places in between that allow for us with those piezoelectrics and that electricity in to increase the mechanical motion. Once it gets going and it's at the correct resonant frequency of the wind that's coming in, it'll continue doing it. It's like a big vibrational resonance drum. Also, I'm sure some of you can figure out why I thought of it like I just talked about. Hits the right frequency, it's consistent, seems to do a lot. Anyways, gonna move on because we're not fully finished, unfortunately for some of us that don't like listening for long periods of time. Suck it up, don't care. We're going to talk about how the Bill Gates windmill design is a horizontal but with a vertical windmill. I mean, blade, but it's a windmill blade, so I could have just finished that with blade. Anyways, flub there. As it moves along the track, that's also its own version of the electrical conduit, but the microwave and everything else, and then the resonant frequency microwave that we could run in between each one of the lines of the cable and the horizontal cable and the diagonal cables that you can still run through as well. This creates a microwave trap, kind of like a flywheel battery. You ever heard of this? Or a Stirling engine heat battery. As it traps a given type of change of this charge that we will have outside, and then we will absorb a little through, and then during that, we're able to sustain a given type of battery, like a capacitor difference, right? Along with electromagnetic, of course, that's in there, both from top to bottom, side to side, and diagonal, as we have to run it through as well. We create greater amounts of control and electricity over the area than average and normal. Oh, there's no lightning, I guess, but yeah, but I kind of wanted it to be just a lot of electricity for me, so. Because it's grounding effectively, and then it's grounding with the mist grounding into the inside charge difference of the box. That's correct. So you're listening. Thank you. Nice. As a result of this, we can string solar panels on both the windmills and the top of the skins and the way that we did with the bottom windmills. Right? We don't need them to reflect all that, like at the bottom, like a bunch of rainforest sunshade models. If you don't know, their neighbors help out each other. They reflect light and they constructively and destructively interfere and make more of the light that they want. And they reduce some with the water as it absorbs some of that IR, more of the amount of light that they're using to effectively grow. But that also means it's extraordinarily dark underneath. That's okay. I've got nothing but a bunch of ground that I'm turning into effectively a kind of short distance geothermal. So I don't really need to worry. But that means it's colder there versus hotter there, which means it's hotter there versus colder there, and colder up there versus hotter there. And there's a bunch of layers there that I can put in that allows for me to create a massively huge, gaseous, at times too, Stirling engine. Because of course the heat is the blades and everything, remember? For the cables as well. The sponge, you know. So they were like, gigawatts? No! Exawatt hours. Look at this. Is this humidity over here versus this dry ass motherfucking bone over here, guy? What is that? Is that a charge difference again? Oh my goodness, more electrons. Exawatt. It's gotta go somewhere. Yeah, the upper atmosphere and creating a whole bunch of cloud-seeded clouds with high albedo factors. Look at them spread out over there. Geothermal. Geoengineer. But it actually makes electricity for us while we do it. We don't have to pump more electricity into making it do it. It does it naturally, just like rainforests do. Look at them grow. It's surprising you didn't know this, but they don't have a lot of electricity and shit going on, and yet they definitely geoengineer our whole planet, don't they? Shockingly, there's enough energy there to do this. I wonder if I can model this after that. And some douche fuck online! By the river, the van, the government cheese. You need squat, anyways. Anyways, by the river, government cheese, by the river, you know, bands. Some dumbass online, you know, just some Redditors. I don't hold grudges much, but I'm like, I know I have a good idea. I don't give a fuck at all. I know I have a good idea. Fuck you. I'm smarter than that. I'm gonna keep trying. Fuck you, bitch. Then I proceeded to make exawatt hours of my design. And I was like, behold, numbnuts over here. Fucking loser. I'm gonna cry or something. Shut up. I hate them. No, they never work. Meanwhile, so is that a fluid for the medium pressure, and then a different fluid with their different? Is that acid and alkaline? Not done yet. Suck it up. I haven't fully described everything. You thought I did. I have not. Anyways, this also happens to produce, because of the type it is, chemically speaking, when it undergoes phase transitions, and it happens to undergo different heating and electrical field and charge differences, produces light that they absorb. That also happens to amplify constructively my microwave energy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm gonna make so much electricity doing this. You don't need extra sir, you're literally gonna brown out all of the world. You can't handle your electrons. No, they will learn how to use it somehow. You can't stop me. They will figure it out. I know that sounds stupid, but it's actually not, because the heat exchange creates a continuous vortexing in Stirling engine heat updraft. Remember that updraft? That also helps with the diaphragmic exchange of the. Yeah, I know, right? Geothermal we're using. Remember that? It's the whole thing, and that's a heat exchanger as a Stirling cooler. Remember? Yeah, yeah. Well, it makes a huge electric diaphragm move, but also that's not everything, because of course I can still use nuclear generation, right? So it's like, well, but also this is a charge difference. This is hot. This is going up. All that stuff. So it's like, well, if I put the right material there, it's like, behold, more electrons. Same thing with the pressure differentials of both the outer tube towards the inner tube, right? And then that chain of heat back towards the outside, back towards the bottom, which is a recirculatory design. Now, the recirculatory design is there specifically for this action, as it goes from a more like a conical gear kind of thing, towards the center, like a parabolic spike, right? That helps align a lot of that to the stators there that have to hold the undulational Jules Thomson spinning turbine. It also helps with the exchange, because this is a vortex versus this one. This is higher pressure versus lower pressure. This is a electron versus that electron, or field, equivalent stuff. That allows for it to recirculate back in. It creates a recirculating field resonant frequency for the electrons, but also for the drop backing back down and pumping during that, because it's cooling. It's a Stirling, right? For the turbine, which pumps back a little bit of that energy lost, because it separates it during that. That's the vortex, the double vortex. Heat one way, cold another. Heat, I want to go back in and have it come back in. Always keeps it a little bit hotter. More efficient as a result, more pressure, right? More flow that's consistently there, along with a better tuning of the resonant frequency forks. Instead of like a big, I drill a slot in the ground, it's more of a pipe. And so you can drill a pipe and you can get everything out and suck up the slurry, right? And then you can slide in the outer tube and with the little dome at the bottom and all that, and then you know twist them and click them in and bolt them down, right? Pretty simple stuff. Super cheap and easy to make. I've had the design on my YouTube for a long time, actually. Especially when the bolts can be hollow axles that do effectively the same thing with piezoelectrics on the inside. Because they can also still have hold through some of the areas, because that actually makes it stronger, yeah, and uses less material. And it's technically speaking, if you do it right, cheaper to manufacture. So, anyways, goes back towards the center. The exchange is another light emission. All right. Now, light emission's great and everything, but we have a bunch of IR and we have a bunch of grounding problems that most people don't like to think about. Because I don't have to, because it's like it's in a vacuum, but also has a pressure area, and it happens to resonate outwards towards inwards. And then it has to use the microwave, right? Because that's the microwave outer versus the vacuum conduit area, which allows for those electrons to go back towards that cable. Which means it effectively reduces the amount of loss you'll see it, in fact, gain more as they'll exchange to each other, effectively making it lossless, but also not quite, because there are still fields and light, of course, there, which I'm going to use as a laser to electricity field conversion. Photons near the right field with the right material happens to create more electrons. Same principle. You see, I'm really smart. You probably didn't get that if you got this far and you skipped. Now I'm going to move on to that light emission is concentrated. I have to absorb more and I have to constructively interfere it into multiple different layers of multiple different, effectively diode, solar panels that are throughout the structure. As it's easy to build tubes, and it's easy to put some fiber glass and electrical conduit and some carbon fiber and the piezoelectrics and all the rest of it, instead of using I would never do that. That's lame. Why would you do that? I could make way more energy doing this. You're stupid if you thought that would be the right idea. But that's okay. That's probably what you were going with, because that would be the idea that you would start with, I suppose, if you didn't really want to do all the things I was talking about and effectively cut down the amount of electricity generation by a fuck ton. Especially when I'm like, if I drill these holes here and then drill in between and I slot this thing that connects at the bottom to all these into a big main, because I wasn't finished, tube, as it still has enough heat that it can send the vast majority of the heat towards a central core versus a cooling outer kind of thing, and resonate that towards there, as the pumping action can be passively made to tuningly fork itself to do this as a acoustic resonance pump while making electricity. I don't have to put electricity in, it's passive. I don't have to actively pump, it just constructively and destructively interferes the already there vibrations into making the pumping action go the direction I wish and choose for it to go. That's controlled passive analog pumping action with the heat and all the rest that's there, because of course I'm cooling it. You get it? But that's gravitational and buoyancy, man. Oh, man, who are these lamos that didn't think of this? Let me see if they're going to think really hard and skip forward and see if they managed something. Buckle down, Annie, think harder. Imagine! I have never thought once about any of this. There's not a genius. He's got to be a secret high IQ Mensa fucking PhD multiple guy. Nope. Meanwhile, we're not done. As it exchanges both the, because of heat and pressure, we're going to recollapse it back as it comes back down into the alkalinity that we desire. And or acidity, of course. You have to. And certain refrigerants are really good for that. And they're even high heat and pressure with different pressures and acoustic resonances and the electrical charges and, of course, the electromagnetics. In fact, if anything, during the heat exchange and the light emission and the electron exchange and everything, it actually makes it. It's effectively a manufacturer of the very alkaline substance we're using that is also a refrigerant in this sense. It must degrade? Nah, not really, but that's the material, that's a catalyst. You know what I mean? Which is conductive and all the rest of it, right? And then it exchanges, that's Stirling exchanging, and it's piezoelectrics in between in the right ways and acoustic and all that. But the light emission for me was the big one. Right. So it's like during that mechanical movement, there's heat that's generated, but that also gets absorbed into the light constructive interference models that we'd like to have for this. Then it gets absorbed and then turned into more electricity, making it insanely much more efficient than what you would probably produce right now. I'm a big behemoth guy. Our industry is incredibly, insanely powerful, and we are way better than you think. We have a lot of good, smart people, I'm sure. I would love to work with you. Here's my pitch. this whole video. You get why I probably never get anywhere? It's like I don't really believe that you try. You just steal the thing and then go like, we can't because of this. It's such like that. Blah, blah. It's not even getting the thermal photovoltaics, thermoelectric, and thermal. Because of the piezoelectric. Electricity generation. Because it's like if you know about that, it's cooling itself, but it's hot enough there in the right areas, right? But you can absolutely put that into carbon fiber and fiberglass. You know what I mean? And still have the conduit right there. So it's like, well, you just protect it a little bit, right? But I mean, it can handle antimony. It can handle fucking radiative heat from ginormous graphite blocks. It's fine. I just need to protect it a little bit with a compressive structure that has a slight amount of vacuum or area for it to squeeze into around those. So that way, with the given graphite and iron, that's basically a light converter or heat to the correct wavelength converter type for the thermal photovoltaic type that we're looking for, along with the piezoelectrics and alongside of the thermoelectric generating material that we have to have around that, which means we're going to cool that, and that also increases the efficiency that we're going to have. Because we're concentrating it towards that center, and we happen to have a higher pressure that happens to exchange towards the top, which, oh no, it's cooling a little bit more than maybe I would want. Well, no, not anymore. Go fuck yourself. You must be dreaming if you thought that. It's really hot now. It's a branching recirculatory design. It goes from out, back towards down, towards center, back towards out. Then what isn't there that's recaptured in the recirculating design then goes back to the exchanging area. Exchanges and cools back down and has a mass above that then repressurizes itself as it goes back down. As it starts going, it is a flywheel that happens to pump itself and happens to use the heat and the thermal and the and all the rest to essentially, which thermal and heat are two different things for me. You're going to have to deal with that. Thermal is a whole different measurement of the unit. Heat is just the thing itself. But I'm going to move on. Okay. It means that I've got a recirculating flywheel Stirling turbine setup. That's an acoustic resonance that produces way more electricity than you will ever currently make with one of your best efforts, geothermals. Hi, colleges. Suck that, I guess. Never went to there. I was a Mesa Community College guy. I dropped out when my mom tried to do something to herself that was not good. I've already talked about it, so she tried to kill herself twice. Moving on. On my YouTube channel, several times actually, whole thing. We're going to move on. So, anyways, never completed college, and I don't need to because I can still learn without having to do it. But, tell me more about how I need it to be valid somehow, you gatekeeping retard assholes. Look at me, I get to play with so many fun, cool toys because I paid out the ass for this. I bought in and did all the things I was told, and even then, I was only one of the few lucky ones. I got to the Ivy League. Fuck ups. Train them to basically do exactly whatever it is you tell them, you authority hogging bastards. You like capitalism, I bet. Weirdos. Anyways, so we're not actually fully done. So in order for that basin to be there, it has to still ultimately allow for an exchange of a Stirling variety. That's right, there's a pressure difference and it needs to bounce off of a given type of diaphragmic and hardened structure, which isn't really totally hardened, it's just stiff enough. Spongiform. I'm just saying that it gets erect, once it gets up there. It's quite hard for most. Stiff enough. I'm just saying. Gah! Hey, it's okay. I know, you probably do. Anyways, point is, that allows for a percentage to be absorbed as a particular acoustic wave that is a now stored wave that then reflects opposite and constructively interferes with that. Now it's a battery. Because there's piezoelectrics in there, it's also a generator. Same thing with this thing called the outside versus the inside, because there's going to be the inside of it and the outside of the tubes and the heat. There's got to be a bit of vacuuming, right? Because you want to store that heat. Anyways, and then you want the transfer, and then you want to be able to make the vibrations do the passivity of the exchange back into their respective areas. While so doing, making electricity with the piezoelectrics and the correct material. That's the given type of size and structure of the holes, the lengths of the slots, the diagonals, overhangs, and spongiform in the correct little areas. So this is the size of a pocket of these holes, and then there's a puzzle piecing of all of that together that makes that type of structure work very well to do that. It's not porous, which is nice because the outside is like an in. What the fuck are you doing? You're interrupting. Get out of here. You shoo you. Anyways, we're going to talk about how there's a exoskeleton to that also happens to reflect the vast majority of the light by absorbing a little bit and then releasing it as it happens to do this undulation vibration, man, which happens to be because of the holes and the amount of air or the type of air or the lack therein and the material they're made out of. It makes it better as a vacuum insulation area that produces more electricity like a Stirling resonant frequency pump. That's passive, that also helps collect a large amount of the heat and pumping acoustic resonances into it as well as a tuning fork resonant frequency pump for the very geothermal that is going on and the rotational wationals happening too. For all the turbiney whinies, which I don't want to kind of extend outwards. I want them to really deaden everything. A real inertial dampener, if you will, system. It's going to do all of it and make so many electrowaves. It's going to store them. You know what I mean? Get the right frequency on those water beds, guys, and it definitely seems to work. Just say. Anyways, we're not fully done yet, although we're pretty close. So count your lucky stars, I suppose. During the acid and then the definitely more alkaline ionic changes, thanks to the charge fields of the Stirling generator heat exchanger from the geothermal to, that's right, the radiator generator that's over there, from the geothermal to the massive radiative structure that is, of course, the windmills and solar panels. Happens to also do this thing called more electricities. Anyways, using an active, like this thing called the rainforest system, it happens to constructively interfere more of that light and destructively interfere while absorbing the vast majority of the destructive interference models for either radio, microwave, or IR or whatever. Anyways, point is, for all of the given different types of multiple different solar cells throughout the entirety of all these structures, then the reflectivity of all of it helps with that passively. And then we have the active. We have to have a little bit, and that's the amount of spacing that we slide in some of these, the skins of these things, which happens to, shockingly, like these things called plants, animals, and insects, changes the light that leaves with the different sizing of the holes and a nice little film around it to make sure it doesn't really quite get dusty or too bad anymore. It then allows for it to go do this thing called active constructive noise of light interference, because it's noise to us. It's not considered a laser. Well, now it's a laser. And now it's very much the light we'd prefer. It's orientating itself and it's being absorbed. Then we send it unto the updraft if I don't want it, for the clouds heated. A huge factor. Multi-layer structure clouds, which are the good ones. You want those. But we're not fully done there. Almost. So give me a second. We want that cloud to absorb a large amount of the light we don't want. This aligns a large amount of the polarizational water molecules and, of course, the cool little light laser tweezers and charge field tweezers and the pressure differential, resonant frequency, explosive decompression, tuning fork cables to make those clouds be concentrated very extraordinarily far away, and in fact be 100% like a laser fluidic light. They can use the microwaves in clouds to transfer it over to somewhere else over the horizon without a need for this weird thing called a balloon or something, or satellite for that matter, or a tower. I'll just use clouds. So, that is the John Tyler Limke Xenonreality on YouTube's. What is this fucking kind of better renewables through my designs? Yeah, video. And it's only a little over an hour. Although I explained something so fucking profoundly paradigm shifting. Rage bait, rage bait, rage bait. That's better than everything anyone's ever come up with. Rage bait, rage bait, rage bait. Totally brand new rage bait, rage bait, rage bait. That makes it so we have exawatt hours, which is actually not wrong. That just depends on the size. Now, I specified specifically the same size of a nuclear reactor and its outright total area that it needs. Not just the building, but all the fencing and everything else, which I might not have specified there, but that's what that meant. Because that's the compound, which is the total real size. That's how it actually takes up all the space that it needs. Well, luckily, this is a lot easier to fucking repair. It needs a lot less advanced technicians. As a result, it lasts longer. It's cheaper too. But if you want to pay for the same amount, which now is this design, that you'd pay for that stupid thing, in my mind, I'd get more electricity than you would out of that. Which is pretty darn intense to think about. But that's how yottawatt hours work. You know what I mean? Like my little exawatt hour over here, it's nothing to a yottawatt hour over there. Look at the size of that thing. Holy moly! I thought I was doing pretty good over here with my exawatt hour. Meanwhile, browns of the world. Oh shit. I shall use clouds to hop and signal hop Wi-Fi, microwave, and more over any and all countries. Go fuck yourself. No! Look at the United Kingdom just has free everything, it seems these days. The rainy season is great. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with me. To be fair, though, I also happen to have an active version, because you're listening, you're hanging out, all right? I have an active version that uses just the laser light and then the noise, constructive interference over a given distance, and then it reflects off of a given type of structure, tube of light that we make, and then it goes back down. By we, it's as if we were working together. We're not. Anyways, it's just me. Then my concepts, designs, and you have to listen, imagine really hard. Anyways, it curves down as it reflects, but also absorbs constructively, but it's close, and then it interferes, and then it goes back down. You can do that consistently over and over and over throughout the entire world. You never need any stupid, dumb satellites. I first came up with the idea, why don't we just fucking put a bunch of fucking blimps and then use Wi-Fi and light hopping? What the fuck is this? Why wouldn't you just do that? Why do you need satellites? And I was like, why do we even need blimps or fucking balloons? The light better. What are you doing? Anyways, that's what that was. Like, subscribe, hit that notification, please and thank you, share. Have a good one. It is almost 3 a.m. for me. Suck my dick and balls is the sign out. Bye.